Hello and welcome. My name is Endashaw and I am an undergraduate student at Bucknell University. This summer, I have had the pleasure of conducting research as an emerging scholar, under the mentorship of Professor Emiku Char-Air, in the Department of International Relations. My research entitled Positive Peace and International Organizations, the United Nations and its peacekeeping efforts is aimed to assess the circumstances in which the United Nations is able or unable to bring out positive peace. To begin this project, it was critical to ask, what does peace look like? To further delineate this concept, I referenced Johan Galtung, a Norwegian sociologist, who further organized these topics. Galtung became the first to organize peace into two conceptualizations, positive and negative peace. On the aspect of negative peace, Galtung describes the existence of negative peace to be the absence of direct violence. However, Galtung clarifies that the emergence of negative peace does not suggest that there is an absence of violence altogether. Rather, Galtung observed the presence of other forms of violence such as structural and cultural violence, undermines the peace process as a whole. Within this context, Galtung defines positive peace as the absence of structural violence. This research maintains its focus on the fact that because international organizations, specifically the United Nations, are tasked with subduing the threat of intrastate conflict, their efficacy in promoting and preserving positive peace should be analyzed. For the examination of this subject, this research incorporated mixed methods, including a discourse analysis of past literature that explored positive peace and the United Nations peacekeeping history and effectiveness, a statistical analysis of data gathered from positive peace reports from the Institute for Economics and Peace, the Fragile State Index from the Fund for Peace, and the United Nations Secretary-General reports, and lastly a comparative analysis of the United Nations Mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, and the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic, MINUSCA, as case studies. The research found that the introduction of United Nations peacekeepers positively impacts progression towards positive peace outcomes by reducing instances of violent outbreak better in countries that are at a higher risk for political instability, as referenced by Figure 1 and Figure 2. Enforcement mechanisms provide concrete ways to create avenues to deter human rights violations, and that monitoring mechanisms are heavily reliant on established enforcement mechanisms to be effective in producing positive peace outcomes. However, monitoring mechanisms alone act better at establishing and maintaining negative peace. In conclusion, the United Nations' efficacy in bringing about positive peace varies and is dependent on a variety of independent variables. If the United Nations establishes enforcement mechanisms such as charter-based and convention-based mechanisms, the organization will make stronger strides towards positive peace by reducing the threat of structural violence that appear as systemic limitations. The United Nations' efficacy in maintaining positive peace relies on the steady maintenance of negative peace through monitoring mechanisms. Thank you.